at first, I want to ask you what impressed you the most from the very start during your exchange, because we know a lot about this cultural shock thing. And for example, the cultural shock was something really present for me in Poland, because when I went to the US, thanks to my Polish experience, it was like a super speed run version of the cultural shock gradation. So if you have some things that maybe shocked you or impressed you in a positive way, or maybe like disappointed you from the very, very start of the exchange, but maybe it changed till the end, you can share it at the moment. Because there are many people who are afraid to go to the exchanges because of that cultural shock experiences. And we want to show here that there's nothing to be afraid of, because every person has it and we go through it in different countries. But after all of that, we have calm and subtle living and in all the conditions. So who wants to start the conversation about it?
Maybe Serhii wants to be first. I can be first as well, but just to have a little pause in between the speeches.
Well, I can start. I don't mind really. I will start from the bad point of it, because the first issue that I figure out in Poland that a lot of Polish people don't know English, and when I wanted to ask someone how to get to the university or some other places I wanted to visit, they just said, we don't know English, sorry, and just went somewhere. So it was a little bit shock for me, because I thought that people in Poland should know English because they are in the European Union. So it was like that. But in spite of this, a lot of people tried to help us, even when we just walked around the city and maybe just going through the map. Some of the people just came to ask and asked if we need some help. So that was the positive point of this. And I would say also that when you go abroad, you always can find a good people. I met Artur there and also some other, and I'm really happy because I have experienced not only new people, not only new culture, but also new style of education that are quite different than in Ukraine, because when you study in Ukraine and you go to the European Union, you just think that a lot of teachers, lecturers will be like in Soviet Union, and when you study there, you are just like friends there. You can ask every time you want. You can just come to the teacher and have just tete-a-tete talk. So you don't be afraid of anything to ask. And they are so positive and open people.
That is really true. Like, I just wanted to add to the Serhii's words. I was also impressed by the thing that a lot of teachers, a lot of professors, they really encourage you to meet them, to write to them. They encourage you to do many, like a lot of stuff, like publishing your works that you are writing just in class. That was something I wasn't like expecting, just because during our studies at university here in Ukraine, yeah, we were writing a lot of paperwork, course works, but we haven't ever used them like We didn't send them to some institutions. We didn't show them to someone more than our professors. And for sure, it just stays unseen for a long time. And you just don't see that it is needed to somebody, you know? But there you can really see it. You see that people are interested in your, in your work from knowledge, intelligence. So that's really cool.
Yeah, actually, that's very interesting. We'll also talk more about the impact of the exchange studies, or as Americans call it, study abroad, for the international relations learning. But Daryna, can you tell us more about like just simple things that maybe shocked or impressed you in Poland, like for example, something connected with the people or the customs of that country, or with the traditions or something like that, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic that you've been through in Poland at some point of time. Yeah.
To be honest, I cannot think of any like cultural shocks, probably just because my friends did really great job preparing me to this trip. Maybe that worked really well for me. I don't know. But, culturally, Ukrainians and Polish people like Slavic blood and so on. It's pretty like we have a lot of common things in our culture. Also, like post-communism period. Also a lot of things in common. So yeah, when I arrived to Warsaw, I didn't feel like I was in some completely new environment. Yeah, everything was in Polish language and so on. But before that, as I said, I had like 4 years of my studying, and during this 4 years, I had 2 years of Polish language. So like it wasn't a problem for me. But what was shocking in a good way, it was about studying about the schedule, just because I was constructing the schedule by myself. I was choosing the subjects that I would like to study, and yeah, there were some compulsory ones, but I was on my last half of the year of studying, so it wasn't so important for me anymore. All the compulsory courses were finished long ago, and yeah, I just understood that it would be really possible for me to learn and to work. For example, I could just put all the classes into the second half of the day, and in the first half of the day I would do my stuff, or like vice versa. It would be possible for me. That was really cool. So it was cool to be organized, up to you, especially. What I also thought about the city by itself, it was completely destroyed during the Second World War, yes, and the new style of the city was completely urban, very comfortable and convenient, so that was really cool for me. Like I had an experience of life in Kyiv for several months and working there during my internship, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not the best city. Like for life, like just for me personally, that's a great city probably in general, but if you don't have a car, if you like the student like me and you're working there, well, you're gonna have some difficulties probably comparing to the Warsaw. Well, Warsaw is also cheaper than Kyiv. That was like a little bit of a shock for me. Like, how is that possible that going to another country is going to be cheaper for me than living in my own country? Well, it was. So some of the positives more here, yes.
Yeah, I can confirm that, especially if we're talking about the Warsaw's infrastructure, because it was super comfortable and super convenient, especially in comparison with Kyiv. Also, the thing about the lack of English knowledge in Poles. I think that, yeah, that's a little bit of the issue, but I think it's even more prevalent in smaller cities in Poland. For example, like Lublin, Kraków, and like all that stuff. because the capital city is kind of at some point filled with like some foreigners and like stuff. But yeah, I think that I'm very grateful that I had some Polish knowledge before that studies abroad.